we have to resurrect and restore the relationship between the hominid, the human being, and the sacred soil, because it's that very relationship that was disrupted by government. So the Catholic Church, all churchish and religious dogma and doctrine was geared toward dislocating the relationship between the people and the soil. And that's where the bans and the tithes came in with the churches, which seemed innocuous back in the Middle Ages, but were not innocuous at all. They were setting the stage, baby, for 1066. 1066 was setting the stage for the great harvest of humanity through numbers and alphabet. Yeah. Spells and bonds, yeah. and we became indentured in that way. But a resurrection of the relationship of the living men and women of the living soil becomes integral now. It's the only thing that matters. And we look now to, in the next 3 years, to grow everything known to man as an experiment. Yeah. I mean, we're doing that as an experiment to prove out that we don't need the World Trade Organization. We don't need third-party intervention in trade and exchange. We don't need to be shipping. We don't need all of that weights and measures and commerce and trade and exchange, because that's really how the third-party interventionism came in and took ownership of everything.
Yeah, well, you're in the tropics, which is so abundant. It's so suitable for human beings, which I believe is our natural habitat.
Based on my I think fairly substantial knowledge in this arena, the whole world at a given point will restore into a sort of median subtropical climate. The Earth is an external manifestation of the collective consciousness of all the sentient creatures that scuttle around on the surface of the plane, as well as within the vessel of the Earth. And the fact of the matter is that climate corresponds to weather, cloud formations, rain, storms, hurricanes. All of that corresponds directly to the geometry of the collective conscious and unconscious elements of sentient beings. And that's just the way it is. We're just being very, very stupid.
We control the weather. There's no doubt.
The weather is a manifestation of us in that sense. So if we're serious about, climate change, well, then fucking change, baby. Change yourself.
Exactly.
And first start by taking a fucking stick to Al Gore and Leonardo DiCaprio and all these other mundane idiots who pump out the same luciferic nonsense as it relates to climate. But that's the point. The point is a living relationship, a syntropic, symbiotic restoration of relationship between the living men and women and the living soil becomes the ignition point of the true revelation and of the second coming, which is the Christed light emanating from within and from without, Alpha Omega.
Yes. Talk about bioarchitecture.
So bioarchitecture is just a cute coining of a phrase that indicates the intelligent application of form, shape, form, light in a built environment, as it should correspond to the living system, whether that living system is a pot plant or an oak tree, or it's a human being, or a cat or a dog. The fact of the matter is that we need to understand that part of the great dystopian death spiral in our civilizational model occurred and manifested as a breach in understanding how to build things and create a built environment, which was biodynamic or bioresonant, because a bioresonant vessel or vehicle creates a feedback loop into the living system that's placed within it, whether it's a pot plant, a cat or a dog or a human being. So we want to live long, and we want to prosper, and we want to be well, and we want to be in as beautiful a state of mind, body, and soul as possible. And if you want to truly accomplish that, then you have to quieten the monkey mind and the systems-based Atlantean logic, stop building things in squares and straight lines with right angles, because the right angle right there is the psychic trap. Bioresonance, bioarchitecture is where we start to architect a world that does not allow for these psychic traps. So at least it circumvents and bypasses them wherever humanly possible. And that can manifest as what we've done in Bali, which is world famous now at Akasha, with the Juan Schlosser, our bioarchitects, usage of bamboo forms. I've designed the master architecting art over 18 years now, a long time I've been at it, and I'm trained at it. But learning spatial dynamics, spatial harmonics, understanding the interplay of light and sound and of form and of element, the wind, the rain, the blah, blah, blah. One only learns that by doing what the Cherokee and the Hopi were practiced at, which is stilling the breath and listening to the pulse of the earth. So a good architect or engineer will always go and sit on the grass or under a tree or by the river and just shut up. Or go to sleep,
Yeah,
and that's where the equation or the algorithm emerges.
Yeah.
When the prayer is fashioned aright, it'll be answered by the God in your own heart. And we must approach the architecting and the engineering of this new kingdom of heaven with that sanctity in mind.
We won't find those sharp edges in nature, really.
No, well, you'll find them. You'll find them with a paper thorn, trust me, or a rose thorn. But your point is correct. But curiously enough, you do get them with certain elements. So if you're looking at striations of crystals or of geological formations, that's a correct and appropriate situation for straight lines and angles and geometry. And that's where it should occur. But outside of that, absolutely correct. We just need to look at what we see out there and comport ourselves in accordance with that language.
What do you see coming up in the next few months? How's it looking to you?
Well, I think if I put my 3D humanoid helmet on, it's terrifying. It's a terrifying specter of inordinate death spiral mechanics playing out in the human family, connected to the degree to which so many of our fellows volunteered themselves up for sacrifice to Moloch in recent weeks and months and years. I'm not judging that revelation. I'm just suggesting that to those with the eyes to see, there's a deep sadness there. There is also a perfection to it. Bifurcation is bifurcation. Phase resonance is phase resonance. Being masked or unmasked to your own reason and conscience and divinity is what it is. It is masked or unmasked. Do the math. It's not complicated. This is what the reckoning is and what the reckoning means. Divine geometry and the number that issues through the hand of God, so to speak, is absolute science. There is no room for fuzzy logic. There is no gray area. This is black or white. This is masked or unmasked. And this is why we collectively manifested this great epochal shaming of ourselves, because we needed to collectively detox from so much civilizational, incarnational, generational shame that we've carried. What was the shaming all about? It was always about only one thing, which is the fact that we have, in the so-called past, chosen to obscure ourselves from our immanent divine nature. And we have collectively determined that that is the end of that. We now move into the immanent divine template of perfection. We restore the kingdom of heaven on earth. The angelic seeding within the atom seed of the pulse of homo sapiens sapien now becomes the emergent pulse of a Christed homo luminous We are taking it from here. There will not be any death spiral mechanics or Babylonian priesthoods moving forward. There will not be any artifice or checkerboard, binary, dualistic logic of the devil moving forward. We are the determiners of that syntropic synthesis of becoming. And it's a beautiful thing. In point of fact, it is arguably the genesis of the greatest galactic orgasm ever encountered or countenanced in the cosmos. That's what I see for those of us who are walking the walk. And that's when I've taken off my mortal 3D human helmet and I see what's really real.